Hi everybody, Miss Molly here for another First Chapter Friday, and today we are going to be reading Houdini and Me by Dan Gutman. So, I figure we'll just jump right in. So, Houdini and Me by Dan Gutman. I am perfectly willing to believe my mind is wide open. Harry Houdini. Chapter 1, The Great Mancini. I was born in Harry Houdini's house. I didn't just say that so you'd keep reading. I said it because it's true. You don't have to believe me. If I was me, I wouldn't believe me either. But it's true. I swear. Look, I took this picture of the plaque outside my front door. I live on West 113th Street in New York City. If you don't know New York that well, 113th Street is just 3 blocks from the most famous park in the world, Central Park. My house is right at the beginning of Harlem. And I'll show you the plaque that's on the front door. Houdini, 1874 to 1926. The magician lived here from 1904 to 1926, collecting illusions, theatrical memorabilia, and books on psychic phenomena and magic. Famous for daring escapes, no restraint ropes, chains, straitjackets, bank vaults, or jail cells could not hold him. Anyway, this is where I was born and where I've lived all my 11 years. That's right, I wasn't born in a hospital. It's a long story that I won't bore you with, but my parents weren't able to get to the hospital in time, so I was born right here on 113th Street. I wonder if my folks saved money on hospital bills. A century ago, this was Harry Houdini's house. He lived here for the last 22 years of his life. Most likely, you know Houdini's name, but you probably don't know all that much about him. He was a famous magician and illusionist, but he was most famous for being an escape artist. They would lock him up in handcuffs, in a jail cell, in a roll-top desk, a giant milk crate, and even a mail bag. He was even locked inside a hot water heater. He'd always find a way out. A Chicago envelope company once sealed him inside the world's largest envelope, and he escaped. Houdini even escaped from inside a giant football. They could lock him up in just about anything, and he would find a way to get out. There was nobody else like him. A century ago, Harry Houdini was one of the most famous people in the world. When I walk up the stairs in my house, it's cool to think that Houdini walked up those same stairs. When I go down to the basement, it's the same basement where Houdini practiced his escapes. When I go to sleep at night, I'm sleeping in a room where Harry Houdini might have slept. When I get up in the morning, I step on a floorboard next to my bed that makes a loud creaking sound that Houdini might have heard when he lived in this house 100 years ago. Living in a house once owned by a famous guy, I naturally became curious about him. I've read a bunch of biographies and learned a lot. To be completely honest, I'm sort of obsessed with Houdini and with magic. People walking past my house are always stopping to take pictures of the plaque on the wall and ask me questions about Houdini. It makes me feel like I'm a little famous too, and I like that. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the funny thing is, my name is Harry too. My parents didn't name me after Houdini, they just liked the name. And my last name is Mancini, which sounds a lot like Houdini. Mancini is an Italian name. Houdini wasn't Italian. In fact, he wasn't even born with the name Houdini. Harry Houdini's real name was Eric Weiss. He was a Jewish kid who was born in Budapest, Hungary. His family came to America and lived in Wisconsin before they moved to New York City when Eric was a teenager. Growing up, Eric's idol was a French magician named Robert Houdin. Harry just added the I at the end of Houdin and called himself Houdini for the rest of his life. I don't know why he changed his name from Eric to Harry. I guess he thought Harry Houdini sounded better than Eric Houdini. Lots of kids from school have seen the plaque on the wall, of course, so everyone knows I live in Houdini's house. Sometimes they ask me to do magic tricks, so I learned a few. You know how grown-ups always say, "Don't try this at home, kids." Well, here's a really simple magic trick you can try at home to impress your friends. All you need is a raw egg, a little salt, and a smooth, level table. First, challenge your friends to try to balance the egg on its end so it stands up all by itself. It's really hard to do and they probably won't be able to do it. Now, here's the trick. While your friends are trying to balance the egg and not looking at you, take a pinch of salt from one hand, wave your other hand above the table and say some magic mumbo jumbo like abracadabra or hocus pocus. While they're watching that hand, use your other to put the pinch of salt on the table. This is called misdirection, and it's key to many magic tricks. Magicians get you to watch one thing so you don't notice something else they're doing at the same time. Anyway, build a tiny mound of salt on the table with your fingers. Just a few grains will be enough to form a little base that will hold up the egg, the same way a tee holds up a football for kicking. Position the egg on top of the salt until it stands up, then quietly blow any extra grains of salt. Presto, you've done it, as if by magic. For fun of it, tell your friends some more mumbo-jumbo about how the position of the sun and the moon on that particular date makes it possible to make an egg stand up on end. That's garbage, of course, but it sounds like it makes sense. So that's the beginning of Houdini and Me. If you like that, definitely give us a call or come and pick it up. And if you want something else, we can suggest something else for you too. All right, my friends, thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.